Okay, I'll wait a little bit longer. Okay. Okay, so I think we'll start this now. For everyone in the Discord, if you want if you want help with modding, what I'm gonna do now is basically modding 101. We'll create a mod on Scratch, mod from scratch on stream. And if you have any questions, you can either use the Twitch chat because it's more convenient for me than the Discord right now. Or better yet, use in the Discord, join the general voice chat. That way, you will we can talk with each other. But you will be, if you're watching the stream, you will hear my voice synchronized with the stream because obviously there's a like half-a-minute delay. So I muted myself in the general, in the voice thing. Oh, such a shame. Well, see you tomorrow, Vendetta Butcher. Good night. Okay, so I think this is as good place as I need to start this. Look, it's okay, Cake. That's why it's okay. It's okay if you can't join voice chat, but I would prefer really if you use the Twitch for the text messages, because it's here I can just clearly see the chat history, and Discord I will have to just pull up constantly to see the messages. Actually, let me see. Maybe I can use a phone for both. Yeah, okay, I think this will work. Okay, so let me just double check. Okay, let's get started. So, to make your own mod, first you have to create some basic file structure. In the Invisible Ink installation folder, go to mods, and then create a folder with the name you want it to. By default, when you download mods from the Steam Workshop, it will be named workshop dash and some number. As you can see, I've renamed quite a few of them, just basically for ease of working with the things. The name of the mod folder can be anything alphanumeric, so any letter, any number, dash, underscore, but no special signs, and most importantly, no spaces. If you add a space to the mod name, the game will crash. So, first, we need to create a folder. I called mine this basically stream mod because this is what we're doing, and what the very minimum what a mod needs is these two things. First is the mod info.txt. It's just a very simple information thing. Only this line really is required because this is your mod name. Offer is also included in the DLC, so I took it from that one. Normally there's also something like this icon, but this is optional. What it does is it adds a little 12 by 12 pixel icon to your mod. It's basically known as the footer. It's optional, and it requires you to use to create quad archives, so we'll just skip this because it will be simpler like this. And version is again optional, but I like to include this because for debugging purposes, basically you can ask directly what mod version you're using, and this is a very simple place to spot this. So these three for the start. And for those of you in the chat who want to try this on your own, you can follow what I'm doing on your end. Yeah, so you can try to recreate what I'm doing here on the chat, excuse me, what I'm doing here on the stream on your own, so you can follow. Okay, so this is the basics. Now, script zip, this is the place with all of your code. There's two approaches. Either create a folder and then just repackage it every time you want to run the game. But I'm doing something different. I'm just basically using a 7-zip and update files directly in here. So inside this zip file, we have just these two files. Mod init is crucial. It's the only required file for your mod. So let's open this. And what we have here? Here we have three functions. We have your initialize, we have your initialize strings, and we have load, and this command at the end, return. Now, what's all of this? Init, this is called once when the game starts. So when the game just launched on startup, this is executed exactly once until and then you close the game. As the name implies, this is just initializing steps. We'll go back to this later. Init strings, this is initialized first, actually, before the init. And what this does is this adds the strings to the game. So all your transaction texts and such. And then there's a load. This one is called every time you either load the game, start a new campaign, or change mod settings in the campaign menu. So this can be called multiple times over one game. And here, this command return is basically, this is required for the mod manager. Basically, what it does, it returns all of these functions as data to the mod API, so it knows what to do. Okay, so let's get started with the init then. Every single mod has to have at least one campaign generation option, so we will create this now. You need to call the mod API, then add generation options and three parameters. First is the ID of your option. So let's just call it, for example, stream mod stuff, right? This is just the ID. It's internal. The player doesn't have to know about anything here. Now, you need the name that will be displayed in the campaign menu for this. You can either type this directory, you can either type this directly here, but the better approach is to use the string file and keep all of your text there. And we'll do that. As you can see, I have already the strings file here in the zip. So what you need to enter here is the file path to your mod. The file path required. God damn it! I'm sorry. First, we need to add a variable that will contain all of our strings, and we'll do it here. For example, stream mod. Okay, let me just double check with another mod if I'm doing this correctly. This is wrong one. Can the variable be anything? Name, yes. Name is any we want. Let me just quickly check. Oh, there's not even any strings here. What? Another one then. Yes, it's in the quotation marks. Okay. So yeah. This can be anything here. It's just a name that you will use in the path. So now that we have this, let's enter the path to our name of our generation option. It has to be strings. This is where the game contains all the strings, and that is used as a separator. I will explain that a little bit later. The basics of Lua once we complete the mod in it. So strings, then you enter what you typed here. So this is the sub-variable that will contain your strings. And now we can now do whatever. So for example, we'll do options, and now the variable name of our generation option name. So it will be stuff1, for example. And you have to now mirror this path in the strings file. So let's get to the strings file. This is what you have here. You have a declaration of your mod strings. For safety, I will use the same name as here. It can be different, but just for safety, use the same one. And here is the here's where you put your strings. So let's mimic this one. Options equals brackets, and this is our stuff1. Okay. Generation option 1. Okay, so this is how our first generation option will be called. And important, after you need to use a comma after when you end your string. So with the exception of the last entry. So this is acceptable because there's no other variable after this, but just to be safe, you can use the comma here. Now, this is the name of the generation option. Now we know. Now we want a description of it. So again, you have to specify a path. Stuff1 description. Stuff1 description equals, into the citation quotes, this is our basic generation option. Okay, and this is the basic stuff, how you create a generation option. Let's just save our strings. I have to update the zip. Here we go. So we're basically done with adding generation options here. Now this second one is mod AP requirements. This specifies if you want any other mod to be loaded before your own. We'll leave this blank for now because we don't need anything else, but this is the place if you want to specify, for example, okay, okay, see you cake in 10 minutes. I will continue the stream and you can watch the archive later. So here's our requirements. So for example, let's add something so you can see how it's working. You need to put, and this is important, a localized mod name inside the thing. So let's go back to our mods, go to DRC, and you need the localized name which is here. It's the name that you enter in the mod info. So let's copy that, enter here, and this will make sure that contingency plan is loaded before our mod. You can specify multiple after a comma, so that's no problem. Also important note, this specific line is exclusive to the sim constructor. I highly encourage anybody who's working on mods to install sim constructor because it makes your job significantly easier. Okay, so let's check if this works. So let's save our mod init, update here, and run our game. Okay, game loads. Let's start a new save. And we should have... oh, here we go. Here we go. As you can see here, our mod has been successfully loaded. We're in the campaign generations options, and we have our option here. There's one little caveat with this. If you click it, it switches your difficulty to custom. If you don't want this behavior, we can change that. So let's do it right now. Close the game, and in the mod init, we have to add a fourth parameter here after these three. It has to be a table or an array as it's called, so brackets, and it's called no update equals true. Now if we save this and run the game again, here's our mod. Let's switch to expert. Now as you can see, changing this does not alter your difficulty, so we fixed that one. Okay, now this is the absolute basics how you get it started. Now from people in the chat, I want for you to tell me what to work on next. An item, an program, an augment, an agent, whatever. We'll basically add something new to the game. So I'll wait a little bit here to account for the stream delay. And in the meantime, I'll look for some... I'll open this one for later. An augment mod, okay, we can start with that. So, we need to create, so how to create an augment. First, we'll need another file here that will contain our augment definitions. you don't actually have to have it. You can just pack all of it into a mod init, but it will just become cluttered and you will have a lot of trouble finding anything. So let's create a new file. It will be called itemdefs. I'm following my naming convention with what's already in the game files. So it will be basically mirroring the game file structure and make looking around for stuff easier. So now we added our itemdefs. This file will contain the definitions of our items. So let's open it. And what we need to have is create an array, local itemdefs equals and brackets, and return itemdefs. What this code does is, this is our array that will contain all of the definitions for our augments, and then we tell return this table up to whatever calls to whatever this is needed, and I will show how to call this later. So now let's create an augment. Thankfully, Clay did it smartly, so you don't have to define everything yourself. Most of the job is already done for you. So we'll use what we want. First is the ID of your augment. So let's name this. Music is distracting. I can make it a little bit quieter, I guess. Okay, this should do. Okay, so back to work. First is our ID of our augment. If you're making quite a few stuff, it's good to add a prefix on this. Every single item, program, daemon, and so on must have a unique ID. So, because if there's duplicates, you will get a mod conflict. So, adding a prefix is a good way to circumvent that. Let's add something simple. For example, an augment that adds a little AP to your agent. So agent. Let's call it quick feed, for example. Now, util extend, and it's common defs augment template, if I'm correct. Okay, what we're doing here is we're calling a function in the utility file. Utility file, I will just open you here. This is the script zip from the game itself. This is the core. We go to the modules, and here's a file called util. It contains various files that are, as the name says, utilities. We're calling a function that's called extend from this file, but this itemdefs file does not know where utility is. So we need to point it towards. Local util equals, we do include. This will assign this file here to this variable, and this way we can if we do this, we can access what's inside of it. So include, and we have to specify a file path, modules util. Okay. Now our utility file is visible and we can use it. So we call it utility extend. what this function does, as it says, it will extend an array with our own data. There's a augment template in the game files. Let me just show you. It's in sim, unit defs, common defs. Here we have, let's find it. Here we go, local augment template. As the name says, it's a template that all augments use. So we have a few things predefined here: what type of unit it is, what traits it has, the tooltips on it, its abilities, icons, and so on. So this is the default we want to use. We also need to know what's common defs. Again, our item doesn't know where the thing is, so we need to show it to him. Show it to this. We define another variable. Local common defs equals include. It's in sim, unit defs, common defs. Okay, and now excuse me. Now we can add stuff our own. So we need a name for our augment. And again, this is a string, and our strings are in the strings file. So strings, stream mod. Do I have a mod init open? No. Let's quickly do that. Yes, it's in stream mod. Let's do another subcategory there, augments, and it's our quick fit. Thank you. So let's open the string file and add our name. Let's do it alphabetically. So augments, quick fit, that's our augment name. Okay, we have a name. Now we need a description and flavor. So it's unfortunately I have to look this up because I don't. For as much experience as I have, you still need to look a lot of this stuff up because there's no way you remember this all. Okay, common defs, augment. Okay, there's no name here, so let me look up another stuff. Okay, test and flavor. Where is it? Here. So now we need a description for it. Okay, this is a dot. Okay, this will be the variable with our description. Let's add it here. Description is the white text that will tell you the effect of an item or an augment. So, for example, let's add +2 max AP. And the final one is the flavor. This is the greenish bluish text. That's the lore for the item. All right. I'm gonna leave this thing blank because I'm not gonna come up with a flavor text for now. Let's just add this so we see it works. Okay, that's all the text we're gonna need from the strings for now. So let's save this and update our zip file. Now, what do we need next? We need to tell our we need to specify that the item can be bought in the shops. So it's gonna need God damn it, where is it? Let me pick up another script to look this stuff up. All right, this. We need to add a augment list true. This tells the game that we want to add this augment to the nanofab augment list. So it will show up in the shop now. If it shows up in the shop, it needs to have a value. This is the credit value you buy the augment for. So let's add 500 for example. What's next? Next, I guess, will be the icons for the augment. So there's 3 types of icons for this thing. Let me copy this from here. There's 3 types of icons. There's an icon of an item when it lies on the ground, that's static, and there's 2 icons for the inventory. The profile icon 100 and profile icon regular. This is the smaller 50 by 50 image. This is a large 100 by 100 image. For now, I will just use what I already have. I have this. This is my custom icon from one of the mods I've made. So let's just use this one. Where would you see each image? It will be actually. Let me just do this right now for you. There's 2 tools that are useful for modders. It's a quad tool and quad builder. Quad builder creates your quad archives with the assets. Quad tool extracts already made archives. What I will do now is basically package this thing into a zip file. And I will post it in the Discord, in the modding link, so you can download this, and this is your reference for all of the stuff. It also contains extracted modded files from various mods. So, for example, all of my mods are in there. Let's just quickly set up Dropbox for this. It's gonna take a little bit for it to upload. Come on. Okay, so in the meantime, let's come back to this. Where's our stuff? Where's our item devs? Yeah, Shish also has, but mine also has modded stuff, so you can also look this one up. Unfortunately, I'm streaming, so the bandwidth is a little bit limited, so it will take a while. Okay, so let's go back to it. This is our icons for the mod. So you specify a file path, a file path where the icon is, right? So item icons, items and augments will be under here, and the smaller one are in the subfolder items icon small. Again, once this update, I will give you a link so you can look for the icons yourself. Okay, so next what we'll need an augment traits, I think. Let's just quickly get back here. Yep, that's the next thing on the list. So traits. This is the traits of your augment, and again, what we do here is define the traits of the augments. Again, we use the utility extend, and we are extending the default augment traits. Let's look up what these are. So this is the basic. This is the script zip from the game. In common devs, we'll find augment traits. Right, here we go. Here's the default augment traits, and it's augment true and installed false. These are the defaults. So by calling this, we have them already in our traits as well. And now we're adding another stuff. So stackable. This is if you have stackable equals true, then the augment can be stacked. Like for example, the penetration scanners, you can install multiple copies of the same augment. You can remove this line if you want augment to be unique. Grafter weight tells how common this item is in the augment grafters in the Cyberlab mission. 10 is the regular value. The higher it is, the more common the augment is. So if you set something like this, for example, it will make it appear very often. Let's keep this at 10, for example, for now. Okay, these are the basics how to make an augment. Let's save this, and okay, close this and update the scripts. Now, before I run the game, I need to tell you about a very important thing for anyone who's modding the game. If you haven't done this already, you have to open the main Lua in the main game folder, search for the def variable that's right here, and switch it to true. What this will do is this will give you access to a debug menu with all sorts of useful stuff. So you have to do this. Bear in mind, this will disable the achievements. If you haven't already unlocked everything, you won't be able to earn any of them. So this def true, and now once you've done that, let's launch the game. Let's check quickly that our mod is loaded correctly. It should be, yeah, it's present here. This is our stream mod. And let's start the game quickly with any team. Yes, Cake. If you altered anything in here, if a script zip is altered or any of these text files in the main folder, this will disable achievements. And yes, you can revert it. You are going to go back here and switch it to false. And if basically what it does is game calculates a checksum of several files, and if it's different from the default, it will disable achievements. If you revert this back to false here, then it will be fine. Okay, let's back to this. Let's go into the mission and let's check if our augment is in the game. Alright, we're inside. And now, how to use the debug menu. You have to press Ctrl tilde to show this. The tilde button is under your escape. It's the little squiggly symbol, right? Pressing Ctrl tilde will toggle this debug menu on the left. And how do you use this thing? Well, you either use the cursor keys up and down to select the menu, or you can use the mouse and click on the menu you want, on the option you want. For example, we have a reveal all. To use this, you click on the option and click enter to activate it, and it will reveal your entire map. Now we want to spawn our item to see if it's in. So we have an option here, spawn units. We click this, click the items, and now we search it from this list. It should be alright. It's not here. Of course it's not here, but because we haven't added it. So let's do that. Now the augment itself is defined in the item defs, but we haven't actually told our game to load this thing. So let's do that. In the mod init, in the load here, we have to tell the game to load our augment. So first we do this. Item defs equals, we have to include it as a, we have to include our item def that's in the script file here, so we can call it. So it will be, let me again look it up because I can't remember from top of my head. It's gonna be this stuff. Okay, what this does is this line will assign to this variable called item def our file, this. And now I can actually show you what the return command does. Here, return item def. What this tell is grab this array. This is our array that will contain definition of our items, and return it to anything that called this file. We're calling this file here with include parameter, with include, and assign it into here. So now this item def will this variable contains the definitions of our items. And now what's this one? This is what's called a loop. In this case, a for loop. For each item that's in here, it will do whatever. So for I, this is an index file. It's a number. This I is a variable that will hold our number. Indexing starts by default from 1. So this is the default. You can skip this, like you can skip this equals 1 if you want it to start from 1. So for I, starting from index 1, for each item that's in pairs from this thing. So what this does is for each item in the table that's in this variable, it will do something. So again, as you can see here, our item depth is a table or an array, whatever you call it, and inside it it's for now it's just one entry. It's this. So this loop will execute just once for each item, and again, this is just a variable name. You can call this whatever you want. For each our item, we want to do something, and in our case, it is to add it to the game. Excuse me, this is a little wrong because it should be add item def. Here we go. This command is calling a mod API and tell it, hey, add item definition to the game. And these two variables are, this is the name of the item, that's automatic, you don't have to do anything with it. And this is the definition of an item that we're passing from here. So this loop will enter our item def, and for each definition that's there, it will add it to our game. Now, this what's here, again, as I said before, the load function is called every time you load a save, you start a new campaign. So what happens if you disable the mod? Well, turns out if we disable the mod with our generation option that we included here, it will still add this item definition. We don't want that. So let's make it so it will only add our items when the generation option is ticked to on. So if options, this is a table that contains all our generation options and their states. So if options stream mod stuff and options stream mod stuff is enabled, then do this. Alright, now why two? There are actually two checks here. They might seem redundant, but they are not. I'll explain it right here. This first check is, hey, does this option actually exist? Because if you would try to load a campaign that was created before you added this mod to your game, this option would not exist, and it would be what's called a nil, not initialized. So if you try to do just this, it's access your option, and this again, this is a table, and you access a elements of a table by pressing dot. If the option is enabled, you will get an error here because this part is not initialized, so you can't get inside something that doesn't exist. So we have to check for this possibility first. So if our generation option exists and if it's enabled, then add our option, add our item to the game. So let's save this. Here we go. And let's launch the game. Oh, we had an error because the game closed. So now it's good time to learn some debugging. If you're on Windows, under Documents, Clay, Invisible Ink, Logs is your log file. This is an invaluable tool to check what went wrong. So usually when the game crashes, your bug report will be at the very end. So for example, we have it here. Variable name is not declared. Okay, so let's check what I did wrong with another mod that works. Okay, so I know what went wrong. As you can see, variable name is not declared. It told you that this is not declared, and it's right. There's no initializing of name anywhere, so it should actually be this. Okay, save, update, and launch again. Okay, fixed work because the game did not crash. Let's load our test campaign. Also, another thing, if you have the dev option set to true, closing the game abruptly without saving it here will basically not save your progress at all. So if you do something in the game, do some actions, and then close the game by closing the window or using a task manager, it will not save your progress. Alright, so we have our agents. The generation option to create this campaign was ticked on, so our augment now should be in the game. As you can see, it's right here. Now, we want to spawn this thing. So what we do, we select it with a mouse click. We hover over a tile where you want it to spawn, and then click enter. Here we go. Our augment just arrived. So we can now loot it. It's right here. As you can see, the name is right here, the flavor text is there, and the description is also right there. And it says the effect will stack because we set stackable to true. So we can install this. But right now this augment actually doesn't do anything. It's just a dummy item, right? So we want to change that. Let's go to item defs. This is our augment definition. For now it does nothing. So we want to do something. In the description of the augment we said, hey, it increases our maximum AP. So let's do that. If you want to augment to change a trait that's already in the game, an agent already has it, you use mod trait. Again, this is an array, so we use brackets, and now we want to specify what trait we want to modify. So for each trait to modify, we have to use another entry. So again, it's a array, and our trait is MP max. This is our maximum. This is the variable under which our maximum AP is stored. there's also another variable called just MP, and that's our current action points. So now we're telling it, hey, we want to modify maximum AP in the game, of maximum AP of an agent, and now by what value? By 2, right? Because that's what we put in our mod description. So we add this, and now save, update the script zip, and launch the game again. Okay, here we go, we're back here. Let's create our augment. Let's install it. Now, as you can see, our AP jumped to 11, so this clearly works. So here we go, congratulations, we just created our first functional augment. So this is the simplest case, when you basically modify what's already in the game or an already existing trait of an agent. To give you a little idea what you can modify, under the debug menu there's a drop-down list here. It says debug none. So this is basically a general options. You can click this, and this you have an option here, debug traits. If you select this, now any unit that you selected, you will have a list of their traits. So for example, we have a selected unit International, that's the unit ID. We have the direction of it's facing south. We have an AP, which is attacks. We have MP, which is movement points. We have owner, which is a PC player, which is us. And here's our list of traits that agent has. We have, for example, Lost Arc, which is our line of sight arc. We have AP max, and so on. So here's check from this. You can see what you can mess with. So if I remember correctly, the Cubodal Cake, you wanted to add an augment that makes agents wake up from KO, right? Right, Hatteras? You never knew this, right? There's a lot of cool options here. I really check this out. Check this shit out. It's really cool. Okay, so we have a little moment. So let's actually show what's in this debug menu here. So we have the debug traits. We also have a debug data, that will show us more generalized information of an unit. So, for example, this is our data for our agent, for the International. So we have some starting skills, we have some abilities, we have some skills, and this is basically the template that you add your augment, your agent on. If you want to select something that's not under your control, like this console or for example a guard of the light defense, you have to switch a display mode. You do this by hitting Control Enter. The first one is your default player view. If we hit Control Enter once, we switch to guard view. Now you can see everything, and you can also select everything. So, for example, you can select a camera, and again we can look up what the camera has. We can select our guards here. Again, check what the hell what they are doing. This also shows nicely their patrol path. So this is good for debugging this. Also, in the cars, under the cursor, you have, for example, you see this information. What this is here is what tile we are on. This is the C. This is our X and Y position in the world. You also have seers. This is who sees who sees the tile, right? So here we have 2 seers, and these are our agents. Here you also have 2 seers. It's actually guard, because the main vision and the peripheral vision are counted separately. So here this tile is 100% seen by the guard, for example. If you cycle the view mode again with Ctrl Enter, now it's the corporation's view. You can see what the corporation units can see. So, for example, this is our view of a guard. This is what camera sees, and for some reason your player view keeps in. So, despite the corporation not having a view of this area, it's visible here because our agent can see this. Okay, so let's go back to the default player view. And what else? With the debug menu, if you do some actions, let's do, for example, 3 actions here. You can use this bar here on the top to rewind to a point you want to. So, for example, let's rewind back 1 action back. Here we go. Before we've set up an ambush, but now if you click play, it will continue to the last point. But if you want to override and change what you've done, you click it, and you see here now the actions are paused, and you have to explicitly click play to override this. So this is good if you have some error here in the log and you want to check how stuff happens. You can use these rewind options here. Again, what do we have also here? You can spawn stuff, items, props, guards, agents. You can spawn programs into incognita. You can activate demons. This will trigger them immediately. You can also, if you're in the world map, you can create a location you want. Okay, so I think that's it from the debug menu. So let's back out of it, and for example, create a new augment that has a custom ability. Let's go back to the item devs. This is our previous augment, so let's add something new. Let's just for now make a copy of it for doing things quickly. Okay, let's change this. This is not quick fit right now. This will be a... what do we want to do? For example, we can do an augment that will, let's see, what to do. For example, we can add an augment that will, for example, refresh our attack if you hacked a firewall, and this effect will trigger once a turn, for example. Let's do something like this. So let's call it something else. Of course, we have to change all of this stuff. For example, call it this a mainframe booster. Switch, and let's switch an icon so we can make a distinction somewhere here. For example, this, I guess. So we switch an icons, we switch our strings. Again, stackable. Now we throw this out because this is more unique item. So we don't want this stacked because ability will just be duplicated and we don't want this. So let's leave it for now like this. I have to go back to the strings to add the new one. Oh, this is wrong. Let's just quickly copy this. Description for the augment. Once per turn, refresh, add one attack when when capturing a mainframe device. Again, I will leave flavor as placeholder. And for now, we're done with the strings. And also for now, we're also done with the item definition. Now, what do I need to create an ability? Well, it would be nice to, again, put it in a separate file, and let's call this something. So this will be this mainframe booster .lua. Let's add this to our zip. And again, ability is nothing more than just in definition that's in a array. So local mainframe booster equals here, and again return as a mainframe booster. What do we need here? Let me open another ability so I have a reference point. First, I guess we'll need the name of our ability. This is again a string. Dot streammod UI mainframe booster name. Here we go. Our tip, I guess. All right. We need icon for this. Let's for now just copy something else. I guess a general arrow would be nice. Let me just find it somewhere. can be actually, let's just for now pick up any icon we want. Again, I will post a zip with all of the game stuff in a moment. So this is our icon of our ability. In this case, because the ability will be passive, it won't show up anywhere, but it's still good to have, just for the backup reason. Now, what do we want else here? Just go back to this. We need a function called getName. This is for overplaces in the for other elements in the game. Basically, game calls a getName function somewhere, and we need to have it here. Let's just quickly change this. I'll explain this later. So all it does is basically it returns this, or I can just simpler say self name. Okay. So if a game calls a function, it will return this. Now we need a tooltip for this ability somewhere. So we need this. Create tooltip. Again, it's a function with a few parameters. It needs a I'll explain later in a moment. So the tooltip contains of two things: of a header of the tooltip and the body of the tooltip. So all we're gonna need really is another string here. So strings streammod UI, and let's repeatedly use mainframe booster name. Body, this is our core. Strings dot streammod dot UI dot booster name description. Okay, and return. As you can see, we're calling something else here called ability util. This is utility file for abilities, and we need to include it here so the code can see it. Ability util, local ability util equals include. I think it's in sim ability util. Okay, this is done. And we also need a simdef because it's referenced here. This is just a default value. I don't think it's not necessary. You can just add this, but let's keep with what's the default. Also, we'll need simdef later, so let's include this now. And you might ask why I'm saying local before. It's basically to tell the game, hey, this is a local variable. I don't want this variable to be visible anywhere else outside of the current scope. So in this case, this variable will be visible in this file only, and don't want it visible anywhere else. Again, you want to keep things local for the most part. Simdefs include simdefs. Okay. I'll need a get profile icon as well. Icon size profile icon. Okay, this is the basic stuff. Now what we need to do is the core of our function. We want to increase number of attacks engine has when you capture a device. So this is a reactionary augment. It reacts to something else what happens. So thankfully there's a really good trigger system in the game, so we're gonna use that. The function that we'll need to call, it's called onTrigger. Let me just quickly find it. Here we go. Here we go. This is onTrigger. Basically, this is called every single time an event a trigger system is used. So I think we have to, but before we use it, we have to make sure that our augment actually uses what we want it to use. So we'll have to have an additional two functions here before this. That's called onSpawn ability and onDespawn ability. As you may guess from the name, they get executed when the ability is created and when the ability is destroyed. And what do we want? What do we want in here? Well, we want two things. First, we want this onTrigger called when the turn starts. So we do this sim at trigger, and this is a from in the simdef. This is the signal. This is the variable that stores what the trigger type this is. So in simdef, trigger start turn, and what do we want to add to react to this trigger? In this case, self, the ability. And we also want another one, which is whenever the firewall gets hacked, right? Because this reacts to firewalls getting hacked. So let's pull up the zip file of the game. In simdefs, we find the trigger, right? Here we go, trigger types. And we find something that reacts to firewalls. Unit shot, unit hijacked, unit escaped, unit deployed. Trigger ice broken. Here we go. This is the one we want. Let's add it here. So now our ability will react to these two things: a turn starting and a firewall getting broken. Again, we want to remove the trigger if the ability is destroyed. So here we go. Now, onTrigger. Now we're adding the actual code, right? Actually, what this ability will do. So, if first we need to make sure the correct ability is called. So, if our ability type is equal, this is a comparison command. In this case, is equal to simdefs trigger ice broken. So if our event is this event, then and we want what we want to here is to right, here's the core ability. So trigger ice broken. We want to know if the firewall has been broken completely. So how do you use these trigger things? Well, triggers pass a data with them that's stored in this variable fdata. Now I want to know what's inside this, so I have to find an instance that this trigger gets used. So the best part, I think, where to find it will be here in the mainframe. There should be a function called break ice. Where is it? Invoke daemon, invoke parasite. Can't break ice, can't target unit. There you go, break ice. Let's just find it quickly here. Here you go, functional break ice. It should be, oh, here we go. Sim trigger event, and it basically passes. Here we go. What unit it got firewalls were altered on. So here we go. It's the unit is what's passed inside of it. So here we go. Fdata dot, because fdata is a table unit, and the firewall itself is a trait. So we need to call a function get traits dot and mainframe ice, if I remember correctly, is the firewall. So again, if mainframe ice is lower or equal to 0, because this is the condition that the device gets captured. If the firewalls are reduced to 0 or lower, then the device is under player control. So if the firewalls are reduced to 0, and now we're adding the thing. So we want to increase the AP. Unfortunately, inside the trigger function here on trigger, you cannot access it. You can only access what's in the EV data or what's in the ability definition here itself. So we don't have a way to access our agent. So we have to change that. Here we want to get an ability owner. So when the ability is created, self ability owner equals actually, let me check, because I can't remember how I did this in. Here we go, like this. Here we go, this will do it. So in here, if the mainframe ice, if the firewalls are reduced to 0, and because we can't be sure if this is actually initialized, and this is not nil, the name that you assign here doesn't matter. It's just a variable name, right? It's just a variable name. And this is also fine, because self ability owner is what would get here, right? It's here, but in this scope, this comes from here. So this is actually fine. Maybe for clarity, I will rename this. If self agent unit, this is this is an assign operator, so we want our agent to be under our variable agent unit. So if self agent unit, then we get agent unit, get traits, and the trait is the attack is called a P. So we want to get this and increment it by 1, right? So we take what the previous value was, whatever it was, and increment it by 1. And since we also have to check if this is once per turn, so let's add a variable here, ability used, but for now false. And we have to add it here, and self ability used, if ability for use is false, then we do this, and we have to switch it to true. Okay, so once this triggers, attack gets refreshed, and with this variable we indicate, hey, this ability was used this turn. Now we need to reset this when the turn starts. So if excuse me, wrong space, it's here. If f type equals trigger start turn, so if the turn started, and f data, you don't actually have to do the second part, but I do this just to not needlessly trigger it, is player. So this checks if the turn start is the player turn start, right? Not the corporation turn start, because these two are separate. So if type equals trigger sim and f data is PC, then we switch this back to false. And this is it, really. That's all. That's our entire ability, right? So file, save. Let's save this. Here I have to go back to strings because we initialize some of the strings here. I need to fill this in. So it was called mainframe booster, right? Yep, mainframe booster name and description. Okay, this should be all of it from the UI. Okay, let's save. Okay, now this ability, what we have here, this is an agent ability. So we need to add this ability to an agent when we install our augment, and we do this here. Again, I have to look up. I have to look up how you do this. Here we go. It's add abilities. So here in the traits section of the augment definition, we specify this, and in the quote marks we specify the ability ID. So that was SM mainframe booster. Okay, And now once this augment is installed, we'll gain that ability. But we're not done yet. The ability is defined here, but again, the game doesn't know about it. We have to add it in our mod init. So here, let's add our ability. Again, I have to look the command up. It's this one. It's mod API add ability definition. Yeah, if you do add abilities in the augment like this, then the ability gets added to the agent. If you want the ability to be owned by an augment instead, you do this, and again you have to util extend. And I think, is it the default agent abilities? Let me check. Command defs. Where are the augment stuff? This is basic agent traits, guard, robot. This is agent abilities, weapons. Grenade. Okay, augment traits. This is template. Let me check again. I should have here somewhere in one of my mods. Here we go. It's this way. Okay, so if the ability was to be owned by an augment itself, then you would have to do this. Abilities, and you have to concatenate them, so you have to merge two tables together, right? This is how you do this. You use util concat, util we do have defined here. Augment, inside the command defs, augment template, abilities, and then you merge this table with this thing. But we don't want that. So I can either comment this line out like this, you do double dash to comment in Lua, or I will simply just delete this. And save. Okay, and now let's check if this stuff works. What's the distinction? Well, you either do this, right? You either do the concatenate, or you have to, if you redefine it from the, or you have to redefine it from the scratch, right? So you have to abilities, open a array, and have to type those default abilities here as well. Because if you don't, they will be skipped, right? Because you technically override the augment template definition, but if you specified abilities here, then it will override the default one. So you have to add the table explicitly or define it by yourself. Okay, so yeah, sorry if I'm repeating myself. So let's spawn our augments. Here we go. Here's our mainframe booster. So let's install it. Now it should, the agent should have a new ability. We can quickly check this by switching to debug data. And let's see. Abilities. Sprint, shoot, overwatch, jack-in. Voice, combat, observe. Did I not? Alright, I'm a dummy. I haven't added it here. So SM mainframe booster. Here we go. Now the model API will add this and wait, I will answer this in a minute, Heka. I will just quickly debug this thing. All right, as you can see, I forgot a one bracket in the get name thing. Yeah, I forgot a comma here in this line. Let's save. Util extend. What util extend does is basically, hey, I want to use or use a template that's already there, right? So where is it? Let's compare this, what's here, to the template in the common devs. Augment template. Here we go. Here's our augment template, and here's our actual augment. As you can see, what the util extend does is first, here you tell it what you want to extend. So when you're extending this, this is the default. You already have what's in here, unless you redefine it again. So because I didn't specify here an abilities, I didn't add abilities here, it will use this one from the extension. But if I redefine abilities here, like that, then this one here is discarded, right? This one now is lost because I override it with whatever is in this one here. That's why if you add an ability custom one here, like door break, for example, if you would add this here like this, then this is the only ability this augment has, and it does not have any of these two, because you override this variable that you extend, right? So for example, the type is here by default because we extend this template. As you can see, this does not have a defined name, it does not have a defined description or flavor. There is a default profile icon, so I can skip that if I want to. So this is how the util extend works. Let me discard this. Okay, so game loaded this time, so I think we're good. Okay, let's check. Here's our two augments, mainframe booster. Let's install it. Augment installed. Now let's quickly use the debug data to check if our ability is in here. There's no error log in. There's no error log. Excuse me. There's no errors in the log. So let's quickly see. Maybe it's not in yet. Actually, let's quickly check this. Let me attack. Let me attack a. Let me attack and guard. Okay. Now the attack is used. So let's hack something. Okay, it's hacked. And we should have, let me just quickly get another weapon to check if it's working. Yep, as you can see, our attack is restored. So it's nice, but it would be actually a little bit more convenient to explicitly tell, hey, we actually got something from this, right? So let's add this to the string here. We can add a warning, say +1 attack. Actually, no, there's no need for this one, excuse me. So let's do this. Here, when the IP gets added, let's use what's called an event. Events are different from triggers in the way that events are client-based, and they are only for the graphics stuff, for the effects. So it does not affect the gameplay. It just creates a graphics for you. So let me again quickly open something that has that, like this, for example. Here you go. We get sim, which is the sim object is basically our entire in-game simulation. Like, this is our game. All of the game logic when you're inside a mission is here. So sim dispatch event. This is the graphical one, not the trigger, because trigger event is the gameplay one. Again, sim does the definition, which is event float text. What unit it's in, so it will be our ability, it'll be our agent unit, and what text it is. So I want it to be strings, stream mod. It will be in UI mainframe booster name, but I want it to be in uppercase, so let's do that. Let's use a built-in Lua string library, string to upper, I think it's called. Here we go. It also needs a position parameter, and it has a color parameter as well. So let's get the position. Local x0 y0 equals. Let's get our agent get location. Okay. Now let's save. Here we go. And also I think we can add an effect. For example, when Nika punches someone, there's a effect around her. So let's do that as well. It should be in melee if I remember correctly. If kinetic capacitor, if augment predictive rolling, Oh, here we go. It's this one. Let's go back. It's float text, and despite event gain AP, and our unit is our agent. Self. Let's save. Okay, and no crash so far. Okay, we're in the game. Let's grab this item again. Yeah, I'll leave you out of the house in a minute. Shut up. Oh, as you can see, we have an error. Let me just quickly check. Let me just quickly, or was it or not? Let me just quickly inspect this. Reload. For some reason it didn't work. Let's revert back. Okay, mainframe booster. Okay, augment installed, and let's try this again. Okay, something's wrong because I'm getting a can we just quickly check this something. Let me just quickly debugging live on stream, everybody. As you can see, you have a typical case where something's not working where it worked before, for whatever reason. Okay, let's try again. Uh, For some reason, I'm getting a... Oh, shut up! Maybe I'm getting error within the ability itself somewhere. Like... it worked before I added this thing. So let's try again. Save. Alright, I see what's the problem here. Mainframe booster name and booster description. And now this is correct. Alright, try again. It's a mainframe booster. Let me just quickly check the item depth. I didn't screw up something here. No, it's fine here. As a mainframe booster. Okay, install. Let's skip one turn. Okay, guy was so nice, he came all by himself. Here we go. And no, it doesn't work. Of course it doesn't work. Let me just... quickly revert back. Right, we can this not install. Just move decker and just punch without the augment and see what happens. Yeah, I have no idea what went wrong. Like, really. Yeah, frustration is unfortunately getting bigger, and I have no idea why this shit doesn't work. Oh well, it's 2 AM, so I think I will end the stream here. I will upload our example mode to the Invisible Ink Discord as well. So if anybody wants to, you can pick it up and try experimenting yourself. But before I do that, I need to switch a few icons because I used something that's not available elsewhere. So... where is it? Let's use this one. Here, and we'll delete a profile icon because of our defaults. Oh, thanks Aka for that. I will definitely download this once I'm done here, but unfortunately playthrough will have to wait until tomorrow. Alright, so this is updated, right? Let me just quickly check again. Yeah, this should be fine. So let's close all of this. Maybe this organ will work for someone else, we'll see. Okay. Let's pack this thing up. Where is it? Stream mod. And throw this into a Dropbox. Okay. Alright, so thanks to all of you for watching and sitting with me. I'm gonna end the stream now. It's gonna be in the Twitch VOD archives for 14 days, and I will also upload the stream to YouTube to my on my channel tomorrow. So don't worry about if you miss anything. You can watch this again tomorrow later. So again,